Warning. This video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all.
When I win, you are all getting tax cuts and you're getting a brand new Trump economic boom. And that's where we were headed.
Right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, your double hump daddy, and today we're... Oh, dear me. It's not even funny. Just remember that crypto is still being adopted at twice the speed of the internet and should reach somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 billion users by the end of 2025. So likely, by zooming out, no one is bullish enough. And the stock market rally since October hides an unusual twist. Volatility on positive days has been significantly higher than those on negative days. And in the past 100 days, the S&P has averaged a plus 0.61% on its positive days compared to only a minus 0.42% on its negative days. Also, the positive days have been more volatile than the negative ones, and the ratio of them is in the top 1% of all days since 1928. So really let that sink in. It also tells us to keep an open mind about seeing higher prices walking forward and there being more gas left in this goose. And if you're sitting there wondering, where's the liquidity going to come from, Camel? Can we really continue to run this thing hot? Well, yes, we can, and here's why. Because the first Treasury buyback operation has begun taking place. To start with, very small amounts, just to test the system works. But make no mistake about it, it will morph into much bigger amounts. They have started to buy back treasuries. Of course, if you've been a follower of this channel for some time, you will know that we covered this a month ago. In this video here, the Fed announced stealth QE, everything is going much higher, and I was talking about how gold always knows something. Why is it then that gold is forcing an early weekly cycle? Like I said, what is it that gold knows? Gold seems to know that Operation Reverse Twist is potentially brewing. I wonder if this reverse twist is what is going to be played after the expiry of the bank term funding program. So there you have it, right? We saw this coming. We said this is something we've got to keep an eye on, and that gold doesn't break out for nothing. Gold always knows something when it breaks out, and sure enough, it seemed to know ahead of time that the Treasury was going to start to do another version of stealth QE that identifies this time, instead of a loan program, as a Treasury buyback scheme. And possibly the most important sentence in this entire video that I did was this one. They will of course not call Operation Reverse Twist by its proper name, QE, because that would reignite animal spirits further and put the Fed in an awkward position of buying short-term bonds at the same time that it's hiking interest rates. Woo! So we are going to run this thing back hot, apparently. We're going to continue to print and we're going to continue to debase currency. Now, take a look at this, okay? Because the new meme is, instead of don't fight the Fed, it's don't fight the Treasury. And as if all that is not going to be enough to continue to send things into that completion of their blow-off top rally and the left translated Bitcoin top. If all of that doesn't work, then perhaps a systemic bank collapse could be the trigger, okay? All these banks are holding way too much CRE, commercial real estate. The rates on these loans are set to double or even triple since they were taken out. And all while most of these CRE projects are bankrupt or cash flow negative, can the banks weather the storm? The reality is they probably cannot weather the storm. And what happened last time we saw a banking crisis? Well, Bitcoin rallied 40%. Not to mention, on Friday, Powell delivered the same message in that the Fed was in no hurry to cut rates. Again, telling us to keep an open mind about having more gas left in this goose. And so with all of that said, it begs the question, doesn't it? Have we indeed confirmed that 3-year cycle low slightly early, but still legal and qualifying? Is this breakout retest resumption off of the downward sloping red resistance line? Or, as I was saying yesterday, Are we going to see this breakout be a false breakout? Are we going to see this thing move down one final time to the mid 90s, which has been my target since the top? And are we going to end up with a slightly later 3-year cycle low? And by zooming out, you can see here all of the 3-year cycle lows. The big question is this one in early, or are we about to roll over one final time and put in a slightly later one? Of course, if we are to confirm this as a fake breakout and start a decline much lower down and much sharper, you better believe that during this time, with the stealth QE from the Treasury, we should have the space to complete that final blow off top rally and send Bitcoin well above 100K into a left translated cycle top. And this is causing a lot of people to ask the question, right? Is $1 million Bitcoin a joke to you? Now, I personally think we're not going to $1 million this cycle. Let me say that right now out of the gate. But just so you know, the case for $1 million Bitcoin is building, and it's slowly but surely becoming less and less absurd. With Bitcoin at 65K, we're talking about just a 15x increase to hit $1 million. And in case you're sitting there going, yeah, what, 15x is impossible? Well, Bitcoin did 15x 3 out of its first 4 cycles. Keep in mind, it's only slightly more than a 2x to get us to 150K. And once we're at 150K, it's a little over 6x to $1 million. Not to mention, now we've got the ETFs opening up access to $100 trillion in new funds, and all amongst a backdrop of US deficits, unsustainable debts, and huge interest payments. Gold prices hitting new all-time highs. Again, gold knows something. Right? Gold knows something. We're seeing oil rally strongly. CRE, as I was saying earlier, tanking, and banks are currently hiding massive losses. So what happens when panic sets in and people look for an asset with zero counterparty risk that they can actually hold and is non-confiscatable? Fits back into that idea about the 5th and final wave for Bitcoin up, being driven in commodities, remember, on an emotion called fear rather than on hope. People drive the 5th wave in commodities because they are fearful that they need to protect themselves rather than hoping that things will improve, which is what we see in the 5th leg of the stock market. And so, as I said, $1 million Bitcoin seems slightly too ambitious to me. But the blow off top target for Bitcoin on a regular scale puts us somewhere in the neighborhood of 112 to 150 or 60K. However, when you put this thing in log, we could quite reasonably see around a 250K target. And really, is 250K, if we were to do this and then crash, is that really unreasonable with this zoomed out look? Is that something that you're sitting here going, that is absolutely impossible? When we zoom out and look at this, we look at the channel, is 250K really an absurd upside price target? I don't think it is. I think anywhere between 150 and 250 would be right about reasonable. In other news, we've also seen Coinbase integrate Bitcoin Lightning Network in partnership with Lightspark. So about time, right? About time. They are, of course, the last to do this, but of course, it was inevitable that one day they were going to. Shout out to JJK for this, because Bitcoin just surged past our parabolic line, a milestone it's only reached 3 times in its history. Each time, it marked the dawn of an explosive bull run. Is this a coincidence? I don't think so. You can see at the hard right edge, we have our line cross flipped into support, looking to resume to the upside, just like we did here, here, and of course, here. Once again, tells us to keep an open mind about higher than expected prices for Bitcoin walking forward. And as if that is not enough hopium for you, take a look at this. The last cycle, it took 7 weeks from the golden break to price discovery markup. This cycle golden break is also 7 weeks ago. So here's some hopium for you. As you can see right here, we have the 618 break, okay? First time we did it, it was then 7 weeks until we entered price discovery. Where are we today? 618 break, 7 weeks to the day, telling us to keep an open mind if history is to repeat about seeing a run to the upside. So there is your hopium for the day. And before we flip into some charts, I wanted to ask you this, since I know the sentiment in the mining stocks and the crypto-related equities is still so far beaten down. Ask yourself a simple question. Who has the most to gain from seeing Bitcoin mining stocks in the toilet for the first 3 months of this year? And of course, the answer is actually quite illuminating. So hopping into the charts. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Looky here, okay? Dixie thinking about confirming a fake breakout so far. Now, of course, all the while we're above the blue support line, then we could certainly turn around and do something like this. So I don't want to get too excited just yet. But this is an early warning sign that this could have been a fake breakout, could have just been a deviation. And if we lose this blue support, then down, down, down we should be going to hopefully find a 3-year cycle low somewhere in the 90 to 95 region. I'm going to be conservative and say 95, but having said that, a nice touch of the green support that goes all the way back here. You know, technically, that would be quite a nice place. That would put us somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 or 91. So I wouldn't rule that out, since we are potentially entering, as I've been talking about for a very long time, that final blow off top portion of the melt up. So we're going to find out. Hopping into the S&P 500, you can see we are thinking about finding that daily and weekly cycle low and then completing the final portion of that melt up. Now, if we do indeed get some kind of pullback, I'm going to move this trend line to encompass wherever that daily and weekly cycle low is formed. This will be our second angle when we zoom out, okay? First in red, second in red, and then we'll be looking for a near vertical third and final angle, which will be not only my trigger to sell all stock positions and exit the Dow Jones and the Russell and any new exposure that I add via the S&P and the Nasdaq coming out of this cycle low, but I will also be looking to flip short the major indexes once we get that third and final trend line breakdown, assuming we can get it. So as ever, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I want to continue to take this thing one day at a time. I want to continue to play patient for just a couple more weeks, maybe a week and a half, until we can find that daily and weekly cycle low, and then we can look to get full exposure back, ready for the final leg higher, ready for the blow off top, and you know what comes thereafter, right? So the exact same thing is true of the Nasdaq. Again, we'll be patiently waiting for a cycle low, adding our exposure back, and then looking to capture the final leg higher. The Dow Jones firing more warning signs as it stands. As always, going to give this a little bit more space. The stop is choked up, as you can see by the dashed red line. And as always, we'll give this a little bit more space and continue to push it until it becomes unreasonable to do so. The Russell 2K, as you can see, is still holding above all support, still looking for higher prices. So long and strong continue to push there. Gold is doing gold things. I added a couple more trend lines, as you can see, the red and the blue. All the while we're above there, it's reasonable to remain in longs. We have got that daily cycle low coming up somewhere around the 18th of April. Worth keeping an eye on, but for me that is a buy the dip location. Silver currently on a 27 handle, so the silver crew going to start to like what comes next. I think a quick snap to 30 bucks and then a bit of digestion seems pretty reasonable. We've been playing silver via the silver miners in the members section, and of course the bull of all bulls, Bitcoin doing Bitcoin things, isn't it? Looks more and more to me like we're going to be entertaining a 60-day consolidation cycle. That is, of course, unless we can get some kind of big, strong push up and a breakout of this downward sloping blue resistance line. If I move this fractal out the way, you can see what's going on, right? So all the while we're kind of chopping around, I expect that consolidation fractal to play out. If, however, we start to push off strongly here and get a breakout of this downward sloping blue resistance line, then it might be party time and we might be expecting much higher prices much sooner. That would all kind of fit with the idea if the Dixie is going to break down, if there's going to be print and show up from the Treasury, stealth QE, and of course if that final leg higher in the stock market is going to occur. As ever, one day at a time, no bias, just let the market tell me what to do and position accordingly. As always, all the while we haven't taken out that cycle low, then long and strong continue to push. Notice how the crypto stocks, you know, a little bit of a fake breakdown. As always, we give it a little bit of a space, and so far that seems to be working out for us. The same is true of MicroStrategy. Riot barely hanging on to our stop loss. If you zoom in here, you can see this is the closest stop loss we've had in a while. We just about missed our stop loss. So zoom in all the way back out. We barely managed to hang on to this position. But again, we have not been cheating. As you can see, the stop loss, as always, you can see the red number down the bottom here with any of these positions, right? You can see here 431 and 287.48 for the MicroStrategy positions. So go back and check the videos just so you know they've been there the whole time. And so far, in by the skin of this camel's teeth. So we'll see if it holds, right? If not, then we'll be looking probably to let this one go and focus on some other ones. And Marathon still above all the critical support, still not stopped out either. So long and strong, continue to push there. We'll see what the market can give. So that's it from me. I hope you're doing well in life, and until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.